It is Thursday night, June 1st. It is 9 p.m. The band is back together. Welcome to episode 30 of the Wise Guys Sports Show. I am one of your hosts, Jim Cerniti. We're going to bring in my co-host right away here, Mike Martinez. Mike, 30.
30. How I wish we were still.
Speak for yourself. I hated my 30.
Dude, 30, I met Steph.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, well, one out of two ain't bad. It's still hitting 500.
Listen, 300 gets you to the Hall of Fame. Let's go there.
That is very true. That is very, very true.
And James, speaking of the Hall of Fame, I believe that this other person that we have with us this evening deserves his own plaque in Cooperstown himself.
He's in the damn intro.
Listen, and it's my favorite clip of last year. It is Alex Ruiz from the Row 7 podcast in Chicago. Alex, it's been since draft night. How are you, sir?
I am doing well. How are you tonight, gents?
Oh, shit.
Here we go. This is how hold on. This is how good I'm doing. It's not liquor. Look what I'm drinking for the show.
Celsius.
It says it burns fat. I think it's a liar.
Better than my Coke Zero addiction for last month.
Well, you know what? I tried that Dr. Pepper Zero. Actually, very good.
I can't find it. I'd love to.
I have somebody in my office who was recently diagnosed diabetic, and she had said, listen, hey, the Dr. Pepper Zero is really good. So she had brought some in, and I tried it, and I was like, oh, wow, it's better than Diet Dr. Pepper, I'll tell you that.
Right.
All right, we're off the rails already. Shock.
Mike, are you sure that's not alcohol? Because
The guy is drunk, but there he goes.
Is that the one? Oh, my God. That's amazing. You know what we got?
Good, sometimes maybe shit.
Yes, it can be. You know what we got to add to the board? A little Bob Menery.
it's never going to replace Kevin Harlan, though.
No, it's not. But in addition to Kevin Harlan, it would be, I think, a nice addition.
It was either the guy is drunk, there he goes, or I'm calling both games.
So we got a bunch to get to tonight. We're going to preview a little bit of the NBA Finals, which we are in 9:07 left in quarter number 2. It is 35-24. The Denver Nuggets, the number 1 overall seed in the playoffs, I believe, if I remember correctly, against the 8 seed Miami Heat out of the Eastern Conference after that Boston Celtics choke job.
Quick trivia question here. I was looking this up earlier. Since the NBA expanded and then went to the 2-conference system in 1970, can you name the first 2 teams, the top 2 teams in the Eastern Conference for most appearances in the NBA Finals?
The Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat.
Correct. The Heat have 7. The Celtics have 10. The Bulls are right behind at 6, and there's a log jam at 5 that includes the Pistons. The Cavaliers are in there. I believe it's the Sixers and the Knicks.
Yeah, but the Knicks, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
The last time the Knicks were in the playoffs, someone more despicable than Deshaun Watson was on their team.
Oh.
And even somebody more despicable through that was actually had taken over the TV broadcast, speeding through Los Angeles.
No, that was 94. I'm talking 99 when they lost to the Spurs.
I forgot about 99.
You're kind of like the chick from the ESPN baseball broadcast last year that forgot about 2015.
Oh, shut up.
So, anyways, let's talk a little.
But there he goes.
That's going to be our new favorite. So let's talk a little NBA Finals. Are either of you guys shocked Miami got in?
No.
After game 2, no. If we were doing this show 2 weeks ago, I think, remember, we all called Boston.
Yeah, after Milwaukee and the Cavaliers went out, we did. I'm pretty sure we did all think that Boston was going to go. I will say this: they need to make some changes in Boston, and I think the first change you need to do is the owners need to stop being butthurt that his wife went to bed with the coach and bring Ime Udoka back. That was a coaching thing.
Well, they already said that he's coming back for next year, and they want Jason Tatum to stay long term. That actually, according to ESPN, came out within the hour.
Now, here's the funny thing, and Alex, I'm going to go to you after this. Do you want to hear something funny? I guess Boston's coach now, his college career ended at the hands of Jimmy Butler's Marquette Eagles.
The irony, right?
The hilarity. Look, I mean, the guy is rumored to be Michael Jordan's illegitimate son. He's going to have that in his DNA if he is.
Agreed. I mean,
can I go off topic but on topic real quick? Alex, how shocked are you that Scottie Pippen just basically pissed all over Michael Jordan a few weeks ago or a few days ago?
I mean, he's the definition of a bitter bastard. That's what he is.
But is he wrong?
No, he's not. I mean, we all know Michael Jordan is a piece of shit. I mean, there's no other way around it. I mean, what he's done on the court is legendary, but yeah, he's trash. We get it.
How do you not stop your son from nailing your ex-teammate who you wouldn't have a single ring's wife?
That's what I'm saying. Granted.
Well, ask Delonte West.
No, that was his mama. Please tell me you know that story, Alex.
I do, of course.
Okay, good.
Yes.
I still love it. He's taking his talents to South Beach and his mama's still riding west. I mean, that's just... I can't.
Yeah, when who was it who
Do
said
it.
that?
No, that was coming out of Cleveland after he made the decision. Like,
Okay.
people were saying it left, right, and center.
Okay.
It was hilarious. No sportscaster said. I'm surprised
Okay.
Rizzo didn't say it, Jim, to be very honest with you.
Yeah.
But this looks like it's going to be an entertaining finals. You have the backdrop of the Jimmy Butler wanting to fight Jokic. Was it last year or 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
Wanting to fight Jokic after the cheap shot again. But Markieff Morris is a thug. I don't understand why he was surprised that happened. You really have two contrasting styles. The Heat run through Jimmy Butler. The Nuggets run through a center. So, Jim, let me ask you this. Could this thing go 7?
I don't think so. I think Denver right now is peaked. They're fresh, and you got to admit, even though they're never going to admit it, Miami is coming off of avoiding history by being the first team to lose a series after being up 3-0, and then just blew their doors off the other night, which none of us saw happening. But then again, isn't that the old adage in sports? The team getting killed ends up doing the killing. But there's just something. Even Miami right now is finding lightning in a bottle. But how long are they going to be able to keep this to run? It's not an underdog story when you're going up a team this great. It's not. It's not like previous finals that we've had where teams are so evenly matched. You've got one team that is clearly better than the other. Name the last time that's happened.
2017 and 2018.
Yeah, but they actually had to go out and get the second best player on the planet because they couldn't beat their opponent.
I didn't say they weren't little bitches for it. I just said those were the last 2 times.
Right. But everything since then, since we actually had NBA history of having the same 2 teams in the finals 4 consecutive years, that's I think the only time that's ever happened in the history of the Big 4 leagues, to be honest.
Yeah, because I think we've only had 2 rematches in Super Bowls back to back. It was Buffalo and Dallas, and I want to say Pittsburgh and Dallas were the only 2 back to back rematches. And I could even be wrong about that.
I know the first one, the Buffalo Dallas one was. I got to double check the other one.
Yeah, because I know Pittsburgh played in Super Bowl 9, 10, 13, and 14 and won all four because I was born on 13. That was the actual birthday. No, I don't think they did. I think it was Minnesota. It was Dallas. Then they had the off years. Then it was Dallas and the Rams.
Yes. Yeah. So
Maybe I'm not getting old after all.
there was a gap in there, and people are thinking Kansas City and San Francisco, but there was a gap in there too.
Yeah. Yeah. Alex, I want to ask you this when it comes to the NBA right now. We're looking at Jokic being the MVP the last 2 years and this year. The hell was that?
Me moving my microphone. Sorry.
Oh, you're right. I thought I broke something. Embiid winning the MVP this year. Are we going to start to see a reemergence of the big man?
I think so, but a versatile big man. Obviously, you know what you have in a guy like Embiid, and then you know you have a phenom as far as I'm concerned. And I would say that who should be the MVP again in Jokic, but the ability to handle the ball, kind of like a Magic, taking the ball up and down the court, be able to shoot, be able to pass, and also have that presence down low as well too to get rebounds and get gritty if you really need to. So I think it could be slightly changing in the guard, but still with the ability to shoot from deep.
No, I absolutely agree. I think the big man has been undervalued for so long. Thank you, Steph Curry. Really since Shaq retired, I think.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember in days past, you watch like Tim Duncan who gets in the post and he's waiting for the ball and like backs it in and like off the glass and like
I was just
it's not like fancy, it's not like glam, but it's effective and it gets you buckets each and every time down the court.
I mean, come on, when we were younger, how many years was a big man the number one overall pick?
Several.
Right. Jordy, Ewing, Olajuwon,
David Robinson, Tim Duncan.
Yep. Shaq.
And now Wembanyama is going to go number one overall. That dude needs to eat a cheeseburger at 12.
And think about this. You got Wembanyama this year, and then you could also have the number one pick for next year could already be decided because then it was announced late yesterday. Zach Edey's going back to Purdue for his senior season.
Really? We were hoping we'd get him at 58.
Yep. He entered the draft, but he never signed with an agent. He actually says he wants to go back to finish up. Because think of how far his game came at Purdue this season, and think of one extra year, plus also that chip on his shoulder for being on a number one seed that got knocked out in the first round.
Dude, Purdue's winning the Big Ten next year going away.
Oh, with that, just put their name on the trophy now, and then just set it aside for the next 6 months.
Well, I mean, if a certain 6 foot some odd 2 guard has anything to say out of USC, if USC joins the Big Ten next year, he may,
Yeah, but that's not until 24. We actually still have a whole season to go.
Oh, that's right. Jim, did you see the debacle that is the media deal with the Big Ten? We got to get into that another episode, but
vaguely, maybe next week.
Yeah, Kevin Warren basically promised things he wasn't able to. I didn't want to ruin your night, Alex, but yeah, he's boning our conference.
Very good. Very good.
Jim, do you know what Kevin Warren does now? He's the president. Look at Alex's face. He's the president of football operations for the Chicago Bears.
Just once, I want to see daylight and not have it like with clouds looming over us.
Speaking of, your boys did a hell of a thing today. There was a kid who was involved in one of those in a shooting in Chicago. He is paralyzed, like 10 years old. Bears had him out at camp today. And his favorite thing in the world to do is go to the beach with his family. But obviously now in a wheelchair, it's going to be tough. The Bears gave him a beach wheelchair today.
That's phenomenal.
Justin Fields leading the charge, getting that done. It may not have been today, but Fields was the one that handed it to him, and it was just awesome.
What does it have, like tank treads on it or something?
It's got almost like dune buggy wheels on it.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And you saw, the kid actually swung himself from one chair to the other. I mean, it was a great thing to see.
Before we jump back onto the NBA, let's actually talk about, while we're still on the NFL, Mike. And Alex could probably appreciate this, and I didn't even bring this up with either of you guys. Michael, did you see the press release from the Cleveland Browns in the last 24 hours?
I don't want it. That's rough. Is he going to try and do games this year?
Yes, he made an announcement on the news last night. And for those of you who don't know, Cleveland Browns lead radio broadcaster, Jim Donovan, had his leukemia return since the end of last season and is now going a very aggressive treatment to where his hair is already fallen out. It's already starting to come back. He definitely has the buzz cut look going on. As somebody who has worked with Jim Donovan on a couple of events when I was back in college working for Cleveland State, what a wonderful, wonderful man. And the voice of our childhood, between him, Gib Shanley, Herb Score,
Hamilton,
Phelps, Tom Hamilton. Yeah, it's Tony Rizzo said it best on his show today that Jim Donovan isn't just a radio broadcaster. If you're from Cleveland, he's family. And for somebody who you and I both grew up listening, we both grew up watching Riz and Jimmy D on TV. And for me to be able to work with both of these guys is very surreal. Now, be it 20 years later, and to be able to see this happen with Jim Donovan, puts it into perspective as, hey, we're getting old, man. And
yeah, it really does.
But
it really does. And when I saw that, it hit me too. We're talking about the voices of our youth, and to tell you this, Howie Rose is on a bridge schedule for the Mets. He's not doing a lot of the road trips because of health concerns he's had in the past. So yeah, Jim Donovan having a recurrence of this is rough. Not that I'm going to obviously partake in them this year, but I think now if I know he's doing games, I may try and listen to some just because it's Donovan. No other reason.
Well, let's go around the horn here. We know the teams that we follow, the voices of our youth. When there was a changing of the guard, how did it affect you? Because Mike, you and I both know, being Clevelanders, to some aspect here, that it was Casey Coleman, and then when Casey passed away, Jimmy took over, and Jimmy's been the voice of the Browns for over 30 years. We've always had Tom Hamilton in some aspect. He was the color guy behind Herb Score when we were growing up. Now he's the lead, and he doesn't have very much time left. We remember having Joe Tate, and then Joe moved on to John Michael, moved on to Fred McLeod. Well, then again, Fred was on TV. I'm sorry. And then John Michael's done a very good job, taking over for Tate. But I think probably the one that hurt me as a Clevelander the most was Casey Coleman.
The one that got me, now I'm going to go back to my youth. And I grew up with Tim McCarver, Ralph Kiner. I grew up with Bob Murphy in the Mets radio booth. I remember when Murph retired after the 2003 season, only not 8 months later to find out Murph had passed. I was very fortunate as a sports fan to get Gary Cohen and Howie Rose in the same booth for 2 seasons, 04 and 05, because in 06, of course, Gary Cohen goes to SNY with the now iconic Gary, Keith, and Ron booth. But listen, Howie Rose and Gary Cohen are going to the Mets Hall of Fame this weekend. Gary Cohen's been in the Mets booth since 1989 in one capacity or another. Howie Rose has been working in New York sports radio since the early 80s. I have been very, very spoiled. I remember Herb Score's last game, Game 7, 1997 World Series.
Yeah.
This is how big Herb Score was in Cleveland, Alex. We muted Bob Costas to listen to Herb Score.
Really?
There's still some of us in Cleveland, present company, Jim has his hand raised, that still to this day will deal with the 5 to 7 TV to radio delay and will mute the Fox Sports or CBS announcers, as good as the CBS announcers are, to be able to listen to Jim Donovan call games.
I would actually pull up the game on my laptop to the Browns radio network and listen to Jim. And by the way, Joe Thomas would have been a better fit than Nathan Segura in that booth. No offense to Nathan.
Nathan's good, but Thomas is, for what he's getting paid as Oliver makes his contractual obligated appearance.
Hello, Ollie.
But Thomas is not going to leave that money on the table to go with NFL Network, to go to to just stay on a local, broadcasting company.
Well, of course, he's going into Canton this summer. Right. So, Alex, you guys had Hawk for forever.
I was thinking Hawk Harrelson, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, on both sides of town, Hawk Harrelson and Harry Carey, as wild as he was, I mean, legendary voices. Like you just they were synonymous. And then Hawk retired, and like it kind of felt a little bit avoided. And Steve Stone stepped in, but he had presence on both sides of town. So,
should we tell Alex where Steve Stone went to high school, Jim?
I wonder where he went, guys.
Charles F. Brush High School in Lyndhurst, Ohio.
I knew he was an Ohio native.
Well, the thing is, in my freshman year, Jim's sophomore year yearbook, they did a list of all the people that were famous that went to school there.
Mm-hmm.
He was in there. The guy who did the voice of Jafar in the original Aladdin movies was in there. And Eric Carmen went there. He actually used to go to the same eye doctor my mom worked for. And he knew my mom by name.
We also had an astronaut.
Carl Walls.
Yep.
He was he a pilot or was he a mission specialist? I can't remember.
He was a mission specialist.
And I'm not digging out my yearbook now. God knows the thing's so damn old. It's going to fall apart.
I'm not getting it.
Mine's around the corner. I know exactly where it is, but it's going to fall apart. It's so friggin' old. We're at 13 seconds left in the first half, gentlemen. It is 57-42 Denver. Let me ask this question. If Denver wins both games at home here, is this going past 4 games?
I think it's going to go 6.
You like Denver winning in Miami?
I think Denver gets 1 in Miami.
I think Denver takes their foot off the gas if they actually get both of those, knowing that they could split and basically do whatever they want. If they can actually, it's 15 right now at the half?
17.
So they're amped up. So basically, if they blow this one wide open, if they win this, if they're up 25 or 30 in the fourth quarter, they know that they've got this thing already in the bag because of how talented they are. I could see them taking their foot off the gas to be able to win it in front of their home fans, considering they've never had one.
I can too. My final question about the finals, I do want to get to the NHL, as you guys are both NHL fans. Did anybody else feel really good that Boston lost, so that way now still the biggest choke job in NBA history is the Golden State Warriors?
Yeah, in a sense, but honestly, I really had no horse in the race in terms of that series. I mean, Miami, respectively, they're talented. Boston also talented as well too. Not a Boston fan of any team, but I expected at least Boston to show up, and they just got their ass kicked.
I grew up a Celtics fan. I've said it on this show. I think the '86 Celtics team is the greatest basketball team ever assembled. The '86 championship team that won over the Twin Towers. And but it pained me a little bit as a Celtics fan. Whoa, Guardians went up 6-3. I'll take that. Where's this offense coming from? Considering when I was there on Wednesday, they had 4 fucking hits. But it pained me a little bit as a Boston fan. But it's the last thing I actually wanted to see would have been Boston carrying that momentum and then steamrolling Denver because of it. Because I think between Boston and Denver, I think Boston's a much better team, complete with the way that they were putting things together.
I don't think there's anybody who could have stopped Jokic in the middle on that team. Nobody.
I understand that, but also think of the road that they had to go through. Boston would have actually gone 7 and had to come from the greatest upset in history to beat Miami, whereas Denver swept an overachieving Lakers team that was very old in terms of where they facilitated the ball through and then had 9 days off.
Very true.
I just had a quick question, guys, before we move on, and this is NBA related, but not specifically the finals. Is there a legitimate way for Boston to sign Tatum and Jaylen Brown to max?
I don't think they want Jaylen Brown back.
I think Jaylen Brown is going to leave.
Because I was hearing that they're looking to offer him an extension, but maybe I read that incorrectly.
With the new CBA that's coming up, and this is what Jim and I were talking about with the Cavaliers, and we'll go more into this as the summer comes. It's going to allow you to pay your guys more money, which is why I don't think Donovan Mitchell is going to leave Cleveland. They're going to be able to pay him the most, and they're going to be in a much better scenario than the Knicks are, because the Knicks are most likely going to try and get a Joel Embiid or somebody else. They're going to blow up part of that team, and they're not going to have the same kind of core that the Cavaliers have. With the CBA, there is a possibility they can keep them both. I just personally think Jaylen Brown needs to go. They need a playmaking point guard. I throw this name out there because his deal's almost up, but they could use a Colin Sexton type point guard who can run an offense and make his own shot. They don't have that right now. They're relying on Tatum and Brown. And who's the other one?
Marcus Smart.
Yeah. And they're on Marcus Smart, and you can't win with an oversized 2 and 2 threes. You need somebody to run the offense, and our point guard play has been terrible. Ever since Isaiah Thomas was forced out for, Captain Flat Earth, who's going to end up on the fucking Lakers. That's got to be another show, because I could go for an hour on just Kyrie's stupid ass. But in all seriousness, they need a point guard. And I brought up Colin Sexton because he was the odd man out in Cleveland, but there's going to be a point guard out there. Are they going to be smart and get it, or are they going to run it back and bring Udoka back when they think coaching was the issue? They need a point guard.
Fair.
Ja Morant could be available if he gets broken off by Adam Silver.
He needs a year off of basketball. That's what he needs, at least.
Yeah,
he takes a year off of basketball, he'll be the spokesperson for the fucking NRA.
They just announced that they're going to have a decision on him after the finals.
Well, of course they're going to do it after the finals.
Yeah.
Silver's not stupid. He's got a chance for the greatest. How many 8 seeds have won the title?
None, because only 2 8 seeds have ever been to the finals.
According to the sports ticker right now on the basketball game, Mazzulla's returning as the Celtics head coach.
Really?
Yeah. I think I mentioned that a few minutes ago. I couldn't remember his name, though.
I thought they're going to cut ties with Udoka.
I thought he's going someplace else.
Well, they still own his rights because he was suspended this year. He wasn't fired.
Right.
I think right now, with the way that they're constructed, they'd have no problem coughing up cash for a draft pick.
What if Udoka ends up did Milwaukee hire Nick Nurse, or was that somebody else?
Yes. Or was it
Was it Philly?
No, it was Philly.
So, according to this, what I was just reading briefly, Udoka's now the head coach of the Rockets.
When did that happen?
I guess recently.
Okay. I didn't see that. Listen, it's either work or baseball with me right now. So since I'm only work or baseball, as you can see what I'm wearing, let's turn the show over to Mr. JC Blue Note here, and let's talk about the 2023 Stanley Cup Finals between the Las Vegas Golden Knights and the Florida Panthers. The South is not abuzz with Stanley Cup fever. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, but since 1990, there have been 7 Canadian teams to make the Stanley Cup Finals. There have been 7 teams from the state of Florida to make the Stanley Cup Finals.
Did I send that to you at 5:30 this morning?
Yes, you did. I actually had seen it last night.
Here's what happens in the morning in my house. I wake up. 45 minutes to an hour before my alarm every day.
Lucky you.
Eyes just open. And normally, little man's next to me, and I catch a right hook at some point in time. And then I flip through, and then I see that, and I'm like, oh, let's wake Jim up. So, James, you and Alex are more hockey guys, so I'll let you two handicap this, and I'll ask questions as we go. So take it away, sir.
The guy is drunk, but there he goes.
First, before we get into the finals, Alex, I'm glad we have you on.
Well, here we go.
Congratulations on winning the Connor Bedard sweepstakes in the Windy City, but is there a part of you that actually still feels that after the Kyle Beach situation, that franchise should have no joy for the next 10 years?
I would agree. I mean, it's also very shady that you part ways with arguably one of the greatest, if not the greatest hockey player of all time, Patrick Kane, and now you just luck into the next heir apparent.
Did you see the story that came out about 2 hours ago about Patrick Kane?
I did not know.
He needs his hip resurfaced. He's going to be out 4 to 6 months.
No way.
Which means he's going to be out he's going to miss the start of the season.
Where is he now?
He's in New
Rangers.
York. He's a Ranger.
Jesus Christ.
Remember, the Rangers went out and got Tarasenko from my Blues and Kane from Alex's Blackhawks. And who knows what's going on there, because you sent me the thing about, their coach, them looking for a new coach last week. So that roster's in turmoil right now.
And the guy they wanted was hired somewhere else.
Yep. But I think this could be a very interesting series. And Alex, I wanted your take on this. Am I the only one who thinks this is either going to go 6 or 7, or Florida is going to steamroll Vegas the way that they have the last 2 rounds?
Well, considering who my pick was, I had the Hurricanes. I had the Hurricanes basically taking it and winning the cup just because of how complete their team was, and the way that they were demolished by the Florida Panthers just ripped that to shreds. Now, granted, the Golden Knights do have talent. They have a reborn Jack Eichel now.
Fuck Jack Eichel.
Well, I understand I see the jersey behind you. I get it. I see it.
Fuck Jack Eichel. Mike, you and I have fuck Steph Curry. I have fuck Jack Eichel.
I also have fuck Chase Utley.
Nonetheless.
I digress.
No, I get it. I understand. I have a shit list as well too of players. So trust me. But with the talent that Vegas has, I mean, granted, some of it's a little mishmash, but Marchessault, Stone, is Carlson. But I think that this is going to rely on the goaltending of Bobrovsky for the Panthers and the stud, in my opinion, in Matthew Tkachuk. I think that's really what it's going to rely on, honestly. And I know that it's probably been said every which way on all the big hockey podcasts and commentators, but that's kind of what I'm looking at.
Did you see and then again, nobody probably did because it hasn't been brought up, but the 2 series clinching goals that Matthew Tkachuk had in the last 2 rounds against Toronto and Carolina shouldn't have counted.
Mm-hmm. I did see that.
On the one against Toronto, one of the Florida Panther players held the stick of the defenseman, which should have been a penalty. And then when he scored the winner with 4 seconds to go the other night to send the Panthers to the finals, the Panther player in front of the net did a stick lift of the Carolina goaltender. So both goals should have been waved off.
Mm-hmm. I did see that, and I was just like, oh well, that it means a whole lot now when the series are not done and we're now heading into the game 1 of the Stanley Cup. But
Yeah, but let's also be honest. With the fact of both of those, Florida was up 3-1 on Toronto and 3-0 on Carolina. Would it really have made any difference had they been waved off and those games got pushed to overtime anyway, or even further into overtime in the Toronto series?
Probably not, because if they would have won one more game, it would have just been one more game for the Florida Panthers to just win.
And we still have, since game one isn't until Saturday, we've got another show going on. So I'm not going to hold you to a prediction here, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
But if you had to pick a Conn Smythe winner for each team, who would you go with? And I'll give you two per team if you wanted.
Yeah, that's fine. You can hit me with yours.
If I'm Florida, I'm looking. It's got to be Tkachuk or Bobrovsky, and I think Bobrovsky right now is light years ahead, even though Tkachuk is leading the playoffs in scoring. If I'm Vegas, I'm thinking either Aiden Hill, the goaltender. I don't think Eichel because he's not scoring enough. I got to think it could be somebody like an Erik Karlsson or a Marchessault. I'm leaning towards Marchessault.
Mm-hmm. I'm even going one step further for you and going to a veteran and saying Phil Kessel. Just as a veteran presence, more so.
There's part of me that actually would think it would be pretty cool for Vegas to win so Kessel could finally get his name on a cup after all these years, but it would still be the fact that Jack Eichel would have his name on the cup as well.
Mm-hmm. I know that certainly pains you, my friend. I get it.
Trivia question. 32 teams in the NHL. Name the only team that has never lost in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Is it the Knights?
Remember, the Knights lost in 2018 to Washington.
They did make it to the Cup, didn't they? Florida, then?
Florida lost in 95 to Colorado.
Who is
it Colorado?
It is Colorado. Colorado was 3-0 in the finals because Colorado is a franchise. The Quebec Nordiques never made the finals.
Okay.
Colorado Avalanche are 3-0 in the Stanley Cup Finals. The next closest team are the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are 4-1.
The Devils have lost more than one final series?
Yes.
Okay.
The Devils lost to the Stars in 99.
That's right. They lost in 99. They won in 95?
Devils won in 95, 97, and 2001.
Okay. So I knew Marty Brodeur had 3 cups.
Mm-hmm.
As far as your Conn Smythe winner, I only go back to the only year I really paid attention to hockey, which was 1994. Of course, being from New York, I was a Ranger fan like my father.
Yeah.
Mark Messier did not win the Conn Smythe that year.
Well, wait, that was Brian Leach, wasn't it?
It was Brian Leach. It should have been Mike Richter.
I was still pulling a little bit more for Adam Deadmarsh, but I can understand that they wanted to go with the flashy name.
Yeah, and Leach was outstanding.
Because, I mean, let's also be honest. I think the last guy who won the Conn Smythe that jumped off the page that nobody expected was Brad Richards for the Lightning 5 years ago.
You guys would know more than I would. I literally 1 year, and I'm like, oh, well, the team I rooted for won the whole thing. I'm good.
Yeah, you got the cup in your lifetime. I got the Blues gear all over my place.
But I did have the starter pullover New York Rangers jacket back in the day.
Those were so nice.
I had that one, and I had one that I'd only seen one other place. It was a zip-up one. It was a black New York Jets one that instead of having Jets on the back, it had the helmet.
Oh, I remember those.
Yeah, the only other place I saw one was at the Jet game I went to that year, 1993. I went to 4 Jet games. They got the piss beat out of them twice. They had a game that Pat Leahy missed a field goal at the end against the old Buffalo Bills, Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed, Jim Kelly, Bruce Smith. I saw those boys play live.
Pete Metzelaars, yeah.
Yup. And then there was the game against Philadelphia when the Jets were up 28-0 and blew that lead. I was at that game.
Alex, you'll actually love to know that when my brother and I were growing up, my dad actually for Christmas one year got us the starter snap-up jackets like they used to wear on the sidelines, the shiny ones. I had a 49ers one. My brother, Chicago Bears. The Bears were his team growing up. He was the biggest Peyton fan you'll ever meet.
That my wife's grandfather, the one thing I asked for when he unfortunately left us, I was told I could never have, and it's an autographed picture of Gale Sayers.
Wow.
I got him. I tried to get him a Walter Payton jersey for his birthday one year, and he actually said that's great. But then I found out he traded it in and went with an Urlacher.
Fair.
I don't think you can go wrong either way.
Yeah.
I mean, sweetness is sweetness, but Brian Urlacher was the prototypical Chicago linebacker. So, gentlemen, speaking of Chicago, we had something pretty damn cool happen a couple of nights ago. And Alex, this was the main reason I wanted to get you on tonight, outside of it is just an absolute bunch of hilarity when you're with us. Liam Hendriks made his season debut 5 months after being diagnosed with cancer. Let me say this. As the son of a survivor, when I see things like this, it brings joy to my heart. So, Jim, play that sucker.
Damn buffering. You know, it always happens whenever I try and stream one of the shorts.
Alex, I'm going to let you take this as the White Sox fan. What did that mean to you?
Everything. I mean, to see him be able to put on that uniform again and like hit the field. And I've been to many a games in recent years past where he comes in to get the save opportunity and they do the light show at the end, and it's electric because the music is loud and people are cheering, and you know, you see everybody with the Hendricks jersey in the crowd, and just seeing what happened to him a number of months ago and him getting diagnosed and obviously going through treatment and seeing that things were kind of progressing, and he was essentially said, I'm going to be back. And then for him to have this day, what was it? Tuesday or Wednesday of this week. Just phenomenal to see. And, you know, I couldn't be happier for him and for his family, because ultimately, you know, cancer is all too common. You know, some, as you mentioned, Mike, you know, some people have survived it. Some people unfortunately have succumbed to it. But to see him kind of flourish and, you know, get all the love that he respectively deserves was just heartwarming. I could tell you right now that I was sitting there on my couch and I was kind of getting emotional.
Alex, 2-second question, since you were watching when that happened, and it wasn't really indicative because of the audio that we just watched from the White Sox official page, but did they play the music with the light show, or did they just kind of cut the music and let the moment speak for itself?
I'm pretty sure they played music for a little bit, but then once they knew like it was just a standing ovation from the 25,000 plus people that were in the stands, they just kind of let him absorb the moment. You know, the light show was still kind of going on, but realistically, the clapping and the screaming was kind of drowning out the music. And it was just more so a moment for him to be able to kind of run in, hit them out, and just kind of take it all in.
Jim, I want to ask you this one because I'm going to go to a guy who now plays for my team and used to play for one of yours. And let's talk about the 2019 All-Star Game and the Stand Up for Cancer and the I Stand with Cookie, which I'm getting all flustered about it now. Oh, by the way, the lead is 16 with 8:30 left to go in the third quarter. But we've seen Cookie come back in 2019. Did he make his season debut at home or was that on the road? I can't remember. Part of me thinks it was in Tampa, but I could be wrong.
I want to say it was on the road, and then because they actually wanted to get him out there so this way he'd be ready enough for like a big blowout at Progressive Field when he came home.
Yeah, and just he pitched yesterday and was amazing last night. He pitched great. So to see him continue doing it, listen, Liam Hendricks is one of my favorites that's out there. By the way, his slider was nasty snappy the other night.
Mm-hmm. When he's on,
it's scary.
It's pretty bad.
So no, that was great to see. And you were my first thought, man. As soon as I saw that he was back, I was like, oh man, we got to talk to Alex about this.
I mean, and like I said, you know where I stand right now with the team, and obviously it kind of is what it is at this point, and it's kind of getting worse by the moment. But I was watching for him. I could not give $1 to the rest of the team, but if I could give everything to give him a standing ovation, the hat tip, whatever it may be, I think that speaks volumes over everything.
Agreed. As you said to me in a text message when you said, yo, we got to do a baseball show. And I'm like, yeah, I got no time. Like I said, I do the Wiseys once a week because Jim is the mastermind behind it all. I just put the kid to bed and come on here and talk a lot of shit.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to put us in the Wayback Machine for something else real quick because it's a little bit of an anniversary for Met fans today, as it was 11 years ago today that Johan Santana threw the first no-hitter in Mets history, the 134-pitch effort that ruined his career. In that game, shut up. Just shut up. So I want to ask one quick question. I want to move on to a couple other things because we've still got to put Alex into the Wisey Translator before the night's over. So that was my favorite Met game of all time. And I was awake for Game 7 in '86, and I've watched all the clinchers in my lifetime that they've had. That was my favorite game because we never thought we'd get it. Seaver didn't do it. Gooden didn't do it. Harvey never. That was after that. And the one last year, the combined one, just didn't do it. That one was phenomenal. Jim, what was your favorite pitch game in one of your team's histories? And Alex, I'm going to put that to you once Jim is done telling me about his.
Well, I don't remember a whole lot of, Guardians/Indians gems really over the year that we're to write home about. But I think the one, because you can call me fair weather or whatnot, but it had to be Randy Johnson's perfect game with the Diamondbacks.
Oh, he was 40 when he did that.
Because they had actually, they were in the downslope of the World Series team, but it's, that was just a cool team to watch because they beat the world-beating Yankees, and everyone jumped on the Diamondback bandwagon back then.
Agreed. And I was living in New York. That was post 9/11, and I still wanted Arizona to win.
Trivia question. What happened 41 years ago tonight in Major League Baseball?
1982? It wasn't Nickel Beer Night, was it? No, that was in the 70s. Kill Disco Night was in the 70s. June 1st, 1982.
I'll give you a hint. It's the greatest record in the history of baseball that'll never be broken.
Oh, Cal started the streak.
Cal Ripken started the streak 41 years ago tonight.
Here's a funny one about that one, and then, Alex, I'll get this from you. I was in the building in September of 1995 when the Cleveland then Indians won their first ever division title. The night before was the first time in baseball history in my life that I ever prayed for rain. And I was hoping Kevin Costner would come out and say, we've got a goddamn natural disaster. Because that game was 21-32. If it had rained in Baltimore the night before, on the night the Cleveland Indians won their first ever division title, Cal Ripken would have broken the record for most consecutive games played in Cleveland. I was 12 rows off the Tribe dugout.
Wow.
So, that's the only time I prayed for rain. Jim, you're bringing it tonight.
Yeah, well, I only remember it is because I'm actually surprised because you know how like sometimes if you comment on somebody's Facebook comment, other people will see it on your timeline. I'm actually surprised I'm actually not going to get shit from yous because they said, is that one streak or is that one accomplishment that'll never be broken? I said, I don't know. The mountain of blow that was in the locker room for the 86 Mets is going to be pretty tough to top.
First of all, let's go here. There was more cocaine in that locker room than in the last scene of Scarface, and I'm not afraid to say it. Did you wait? Speaking of the amount of cocaine that was in there, did you see what Lenny Dykstra said on Twitter?
Oh,
Jim, did you see this? He put up a picture of President Kennedy. He goes, "Sorry it had to end that way. Wish you were around so you could watch my boys and I break the Red Sox hearts." Dykstra's an asshole.
Yeah.
So, Alex, your favorite pitch game that you've ever? Am I guessing Mark Burley here?
July 23rd, 2009, Tampa Bay Rays, Chicago White Sox.
Were you there?
I was not there, no.
Okay,
No, it was the school days.
that's crazy.
Yep. But I remember I caught bits and pieces. I actually caught the end of the game, but I went back and watched the entirety because they did the replay later in the evening when it was just chills.
The Dwayne Wise catch,
Mm-hmm.
and in that one, and then the Mike Baxter catch in the Santana one. Baxter never played again for the Mets, at least, after separating his shoulder in that game. Funny story about Burley. He threw the perfect game against Tampa. His next start was in Cleveland. A kid I went to high school with was working at the hotel. He said Burley came in at 4:30 in the morning the day of his start with two broads.
I believe it.
Drunk as hell, and then goes out and throws 6 perfect innings against the Tribe the next day.
I believe it.
Burley's the man.
He should be in the Hall of Fame soon enough, hopefully. I think.
Not to burst your bubble.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are really only 3 pitchers right now that are shoo-ins. Scherzer, Verlander, and Clayton Kershaw. I think the rest of them are going to be borderline. Not that Burley's wasn't amazing.
Or Veterans Committee.
Or Veterans Committee. I'm still hoping for David Wright in the Veterans Committee. So wanted to touch on one other thing before we get to the Wisey Translator. And that is the insanity that has been the Major League Baseball season, just for a moment, if we could. Is Pittsburgh going to fall apart?
It's going to have to happen. I'm sorry.
They're now starting to look like how Minnesota was last year. Come out of the gates and then just hang around, but you know the floor is crumbling underneath very quickly.
Yeah, but is the floor crumbling because O'Neal Cruz is hurt?
I mean, they are a game above 500, but still, you know, it's not to mention that the division is absolute hot garbage. So
both central divisions are playing terrible this year.
What's more chaotic, and I'm glad you both brought this up, what Pittsburgh's doing, or the fact that if you look at the standings straight up and down, you take the AL East and the AL Central, and they are perfectly in line.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. I think
Alex,
it's
you know
more.
what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more crazy if you see who's in last place in the AL East.
I'm actually just hoping for the day that we actually, because I remember it happened a few years ago, how the AL West, how all the logos spelled out asshat. That would be Astros, Mariners.
Astros, Mariners, Houston.
No, yeah, then it would have to be. There's 2 A's in there. Texas is at the bottom.
Anaheim.
It would be Astros or Anaheim, Seattle, Astros or Anaheim, A's, Texas. Asshat.
I know this is definitely gonna bug you, Mike. But how is how is everybody in the AL East all still above 500 right now?
They're playing the shit part of their schedule, and they really haven't played each other yet.
Yeah, but with this new breakdown of the schedule this year, now they're only playing each other what, like 15 times a piece at most?
12, I think.
12. Okay.
But you still, I think the Yankees have played 6 games against Tampa, and they're 3-3. Look, Boston's playing better than I think people thought. The Yankees have had injury after injury and are underperforming outside of Aaron Judge, who's just insanity. Tampa came out of the gate just swinging.
Oh, boy.
Clase blew another save.
Are you fucking serious?
They were 6-3, and then he gave up a double and a homer.
So it's 6-5?
It's 6-all. No, it wasn't him. It was Stefan.
Who's the dude that Alonso hit into the second deck?
Oh, James K.K. Karinchak.
Okay. Dude, we were doing a show the night before the Gardos played the Mets.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the first night, Lindor gets the base hit to win it after the Mets are down 7-1.
Mm-hmm.
And guess whose microphone got muted?
Yeah, he did. He literally cut my feed.
With the first-time guest.
Yeah, we had that Patrick McGuire was on with us for the
Yeah.
Cavs show, and I was being a dick.
Imagine that.
Tell me something else I don't know. And then we get to the doubleheader on Sunday, and they come back in both of those games. Oh, and by the way, not to toot my own horn, but Francisco Alvarez is as good as I said he was going to be. I think he's got the most home runs for a catcher in baseball. He's got 9. Now, here's the one that I can't figure. When are the Padres going to wake the fuck up?
Maybe they will now that their TV rights are changing.
Now belong to the MLB?
Right.
What happened to their TV rights?
You didn't hear this?
Jim, I work 60 plus hours a week.
Diamond Sports Group, who owns Bally's, missed their payment of the interest payment to the Padres. So now the Padres can opt out, and MLB has offered fans in local markets, they can watch games free through the MLB app, or they can actually stream them for like $20 a month.
If I could, I would, but I don't have time, or else I'd put the MLB app on my TV and I'd watch the Mets every night.
Well, there's four or five other teams that are included with that, and the Gardos could be up on the block too.
Well, that's because Bally Sports paid way too much money to Fox.
Well, yeah, it's also because when they did it, they took on $8 billion worth of debt. That's why you don't sell TV rights to a gaming commission.
Here's another one for you, because they're kind of very much under the radar right now, but playing significantly well. Who do the Diamondbacks think they are?
That's fucking crazy. You know what they think they are? They think they're a scrappy bunch of young kids who don't know any fucking better.
With Evan Longoria, scrappy, young.
Well, you got to figure the Rockies are very, very old. You have to figure the Padres have constantly underachieved with that payroll. They should be out in front. They should be better than Tampa right now with that level of talent and that payroll.
You're not kidding.
The Dodgers can't keep that up forever, and somebody's got to do it. Every year there's somebody. Last year it was the Guardians. This year it's the Diamondbacks, apparently.
I don't know if their pitching holds up. I love Zach Gallen. I think he's got maybe some of the best stuff in baseball. I just don't know if that rotation can carry it for 162. I hope they can. I'd love to see him get in. But I don't know.
Hey, Jim, this is a question for you because I know this kind of hits a little bit home for you and somewhat of myself, but more so my dad. What is going on with the St. Louis Cardinals?
Yeah.
Can I answer that when you're done, Jim?
You, Michael, you can go ahead and jump in anytime you want.
Their heart and soul left.
Yadi Molina.
Oh yeah,
And Albert.
more Yachty.
More Yachty. And
As
the
much
fact
of a
that,
story Albert was going back, and we all loved it, and he played out of his mind. The heart and soul of the St. Louis Cardinals was Yachty or Molina.
they're starting to wake up a little bit, but the fact is they dug themselves way too much of a hole at the beginning here. I mean, what the hell are you doing signing Wilson Contreras to that level of a contract and then trying him in right field?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I've said this to my dad for the past couple of years. The fact that they have not done a good job investing in starting pitching. You got Waino, who's what, 39, 40 already?
Yeah.
It's
Waino's only got a year or two left, and you know, you figure as much of a great job as John Mozeliak's done as general manager, this could actually end up being his worst job ever with what's going on right now. You rode the high of last year, and you should have been able to carry that with the young talent on that ball club, and they are probably the most disappointing team in baseball right now.
I mean, go ahead, Mike. I'll let you take it. But
they're not the most disappointing team. I'm wearing the colors of the most disappointing team right now. But go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, but the difference is that you guys have the talent to be able to turn that around because of the veterans and the payroll and everything. And now that the weather's turning warmer, you guys are going to start heating up, which is what the Guardians hope to do with that. But the fact is the Cardinals right now didn't have a ton of premier talent to begin with. I mean, at least the Guardians have Jose Ramirez, starting to wake up. Bieber still pitches well, even though he got shelled yesterday. They've got McKenzie and Plesac coming back off of, and Savali coming back off of the injured list later on this week. What's the Cardinals' excuse? They don't have one.
Well, their pitching that they try to develop hasn't panned out.
Right.
Well, I mean, going back to what you mentioned just a couple of moments ago about Mozeliak, I mean, he's arguably should lose his job. He's made several bonehead decisions within the past couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, you traded Sandy Alcantara, you traded Rosarena, and you traded Adolis Garcia, who've all turned out to be above average players.
And let's also, I think the biggest blunder of his entire regime was the Marcell Ozuna crap.
Well, that too.
Don't forget Harrison Bader.
God,
I loved Harrison Bader, and I hate the fact that he's a Yankee now.
But here's the thing: when that deal paid off for them in the short term last year, because who was the lefty?
Montgomery.
Jordan Montgomery was phenomenal for them.
He was the best deadline deal for sure.
He couldn't get out of his own goddamn way with the Yankees. But he was phenomenal for them. He has not pitched well this year.
I mean, it definitely falls on at the feet of Mozeliak and the pitching staff for not developing and for not flourishing the way that they wanted to. You got Jack Flaherty, who hasn't been the same since probably 2017. Miles Michaelis doesn't have it. Waino, yeah, his curveball works sometimes, but every couple starts he's going to have a shit game. And then after that, Montgomery, 50-50, and then that's really.
Is Steven Matz still in St. Louis?
He is,
but he's finding his way out real soon. I keep seeing that they're talking about DFAing him at some point.
Yeah, Mike, they're also going to end up doing the same thing with Cal Quantrill here in Cleveland.
Jeez.
Quantrill gave up 7 runs in 4 1/3 when I was there last Wednesday, and then he gave up, I want to say, 6 the other night.
Does he have options?
I don't know, and at this point don't care. But Alex, I mean, if you look at the standings right now, the Cardinals 25-32, they're sitting right now mathematically tied for last, but they're only 4.5 out in the division. And let's also be honest, 7 games under 500 for this team that was 16 games under 500 a couple of weeks ago. We'll take that.
Right. No, I mean, they've definitely turned the corner, but I mean, when I think of Cardinal baseball, this is not anywhere near that. They're 10 to 15 games over at this point. But, maybe with as bad as the division is, and Milwaukee eventually going to come back down to earth, I would imagine Cincinnati will fall. Pittsburgh will probably fall. Cubs will kind of jump back into the middle of the mix, and I would expect the Cardinals to pick it up, but I guess it's a crapshoot at this point.
Could we see both teams in the Central Division who actually end up winning the division doing it by having a record less than 10 games over 500 at this point?
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, you look at it right now, the Brewers are 2 games over 500. The Twins are 2 games over 500 as this game now is about ready to go to extra innings.
We're 50 years removed from a team that was 83 and 79 go to the World Series.
Mm-hmm. I mean, other than that, I mean...
Speaking of that World Series, Alex, that was Oakland and the Mets. You going to go to Vegas, see the A's?
I'm going to go to Vegas for other reasons, not necessarily the A's.
Anybody going to go to Vegas to see the A's?
It's a shame that they weren't there now because I might actually be going there in November.
You suck.
Well, I'll tell you guys off the air, but let's say it involves motorsports.
Okay.
Really quickly, because this is Cleveland related and both kind of might hit a chord with both of you guys. There's reports coming out from MLB and a lot of like general managers saying that Bieber is going to be on the block this deadline. Do you guys think that's going to happen?
It's going to be very, very tough because the way that they've actually now started to kind of wake up and mash the last 3 out of 4 games. Let's see what happens with this series with Minnesota. And then, if they can get a split, if they can get 3 out of 4 and climb to within 3 games of, the division lead, first of all, they'd actually be within like 2 games of 500 at that point. But we got to actually see what happens once Savali and Tristan McKenzie come off the injured list this weekend. I think Savali's going to pitch on Saturday. They don't know if McKenzie's going to be active. He might be ready for early to mid next week to get his season debut. But they're actually, I think right now from what I was hearing, they're in a wait and see mode for about another 3 to 4 weeks.
Unfortunately, I believe he will be on the block.
But it's going to be something where if they do move him, Mike, what I have heard is that they're not expecting a Lindor type haul, but it's going to be in those same circumstances, is that they better get a hell of a ransom coming back for it to make it worth their while if they're going to move him.
I agree, because they'll have to restock. Now, my boys are in a particular situation with Francisco Alvarez emerging like this. They drafted the top catcher 2 years ago in Michael Parada. Guards need a catcher. This kid's ready, or will be ready next year. Not saying it's going to happen, but they like to make trades with the Mets. They always have, going back to Alomar in 2002. So if Bieber's on the block and the Mets are in it, look for the Mets to be players for him.
Yeah, look, the other factor that nobody's really talking about is the very, very sudden emergence of Tanner Bybee.
He's really good. I like him.
Especially with the fact that he's a homegrown kid. They drafted him in 2021. I mean, he's a top 10 round selection. I think he was 4th or 5th round.
Yeah, no, the way the Guardians have developed pitching has been insane. Real quick,
you as a baseball fan can remember this, is all those great Guardians rotations. Usually those guys end up getting moved. Cliff Lee, CeCe, possibly Bieber. I mean, Kluber. We've seen a bunch of them get moved, and then maybe they'll sit back and they'll miss the playoffs for a year, maybe 2, and then they'll stockpile and they'll be world beaters.
Trevor Bauer, who apparently can't get out of his own way in Japan. He was sent to the minors already.
Yeah.
Real quick before we go into the next port, 84-63 Denver at the end of 3.
Good night.
So, James, I believe it's time for Alex to have his second go round into the Wisey Translator because remember, Alex was with us when this debuted.
Yeah, that is true. So in 3, 2.
So for everybody watching just for the first time, the Wisey Translators, we give our guest and each of us one name in the world of sports or not in the world of sports. And the first thing that pops into their head is what they have to say. And normally hilarity ensues. So Alex, I'm going to go with an oldie but goodie when it comes to the wise guys. Alex, your name is Tony La Russa.
Pulse.
He said pulse or lack thereof.
Yeah, no,
You got to wait for the sound effects. The sound effects for the Wisey Translator is an old dial-up modem.
okay.
I got one more for you. Alex, your second name is Ozzie Guillen.
Who would be my guy?
Nice.
I was sure he would have gone with Psst, please.
What are you, Barney Stinson? Oh boy.
Your first name on the Wisey Translator tonight, John Morant.
Emilio Estevez, because he's the one that played Billy the Kid in Young Guns.
Demonetization, here we come.
Hey, Alex, did you see the one where they gave me Brett Favre?
I don't think I caught that one. Can we refresh it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we have that one. That's right.
Oh, yes, we do. It's going to take me a minute.
You know, I haven't watched a single episode since he passed away.
Really? That's fair.
I used to watch that show every night.
Or when you had time.
That too.
Come on. Freaking YouTube jamming up. Oh, that's why my Chromebook went AWOL for a minute and actually sent me to Yahoo instead of YouTube. While I'm doing it, Alex, did you happen to watch Double or Nothing on Sunday night?
I caught the replay of it.
What did you think? High point, low point?
High point, Chris Statlander.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
I just think that no offense to Jade, but I think she's very green, and I think just needs a little bit more work. Plus, also that that division's got to get cleaned up a little bit, and I think that with Chris at the helm, could kind of spruce it up just a tad bit.
I know she's taking some time off. Jade Cargill is, but 6 months or a year, do you think she needs?
About 6 months.
Send her to Japan.
Sure. Low point. I guess I seen it coming, but I really wasn't a fan of what Takeshita and Callis did.
Yeah, I kind of knew that Takeshita was gonna turn, but I thought it was a little too obvious, and the fact that had to probably be a low point for me. Not so much being a more of an elite fan than a BCC club, and I gotta say they got to change the name of the group. You can't actually still have it referencing William Regal when he's working for the competition now, and is going to be there for several years.
Correct. Also, they can't be putting those initials on like clothing. Come on, please.
Did he go back to Vince?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus.
But yeah, for me, high point without a doubt. I probably watched Statlander's return 50 times.
Mm-hmm.
Just did you see the 10 or 15 the 10 or 12 minute like little documentary they did on their Twitter page about her with the injuries and everything?
I caught bits and pieces of it. I didn't sit through the whole thing, but
It
there
was fantastic because I've been following her since like the waning days of the Indies before she actually started making the jump to like NXT and AEW and she even said, don't consider me injury prone because every time I get hurt, I come back stronger. And for her to do on Monday night that standing 450 off the top with two reconstructed ACLs is damn impressive. And I'll tell you what, she might be the most complete performer on the women's roster.
I think
And
so.
that's saying something with Tony Storm, Ruby Riott, Sky Blue, even Nyla Rose. She's probably better than all of them.
Honestly, when you think about it, she's not even in her prime. Was she like 25?
25, 26? Yeah.
Not even. She hasn't even hit her prime yet. So
yeah.
I really quickly. I know. I know you're dialing that up, but I heard that it's official now. CM Punk's coming back. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's they have to do it in Chicago just because it's got to be separated.
You gonna go again?
Hell no. Did you see the little videos popping up of people in the crowd in Vegas the other night when they announced that it's a very mixed reaction?
I didn't, but I can believe it. I mean, I know what he's done in the past, and I know he's over in obviously Chicago, but he's rubbed more than many people the wrong way, and I think that if I were Tony Khan, I would have said, you know what, good riddance, we're done.
How much of this do you think is Khan not wanting to pay him his contract to sit home and try to be able to milk something out of it?
Well, I think that's probably like 90% of it, that he just doesn't want to just have a paycheck every month or every couple of weeks coming in for not having to do anything.
Because you got to figure with them potentially looking at a brand split, with them going to the Collision show, that eventually he and the Elite are going to cross at some point.
They're going to have to. There's no other way around it.
Right, because you're going to have the champions going back and forth between the TV shows, and then if you're building massive, massive angles, something's going to happen. I just got to say though, keep him as far away from the title picture as possible.
Yeah, no, he shouldn't sniff any big title at all.
Well, let me actually before I run the Brett Favre clip here. MJF's next challenger.
It's got to be Adam Cole. Baby.
Did you see the story a couple of weeks ago, where the three pillars were in the ring and MJF slapped the microphone out of Renee's hand backstage? Did you see what that originally was supposed to be?
No, I didn't.
He was supposed to come out on stage and says, "I will still be the champion after All Out, baby."
Really?
And they didn't want to tip their hand, saying because it's going to be Cole probably taking the title off of him at Wembley.
So they are going to look to move him off the title then?
I mean, if his contract runs out at the end of the year, unless they sign him long term, they've got to do something. Otherwise, you're literally going to have Bret Hart 2.0. You're going to have to do something because he's going to be there on a handshake deal with your championship.
And I guess is it all but certain that he's walking at the end of 23?
I gotta think there's a part of him that is going to go to Vince, that wants to go to Vince for the money because he's the most marketable guy in professional wrestling right now. But there's also something that there's no way he's going to be able to get away with what he does for whatever the new company is, because it's not Vince anymore.
Well, that's
Endeavor or whatever they're calling it.
Yeah, like
it's not going to be. He's not going to be able to get away with nearly as much as Tony lets him get away with.
No, I mean, considering the fact that now WWE and Endeavor are all for the kids and like youth entertainment, like him swearing and this and that and the other shenanigans that he's doing out in the ring or on stage, like will not fly in the WWE.
Yeah, but unless they kind of give him a role and let him have a little bit of freedom like they do with Brock, because remember how they neutered EC3.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. I mean, I know he's going to command boatloads of money, rightfully so. I mean, he's a top draw wherever he goes. But it would be really shocking to me if he actually walked out the door of AEW.
I got to think he might walk, just because I think with the Elite coming back the way that they did, that they've probably already signed contract extensions. And how much does Tony really want to pay out? Because he's going to have some other guys have their contracts start coming up before too long. I know FTR just re-signed, but they're only going to be there for another year or two. And then they've already said that they're essentially going to be done. Am I also the only one that actually thinks that they are kind of missing something here with maybe taking FTR and kind of turning them into like a demolition wrecking tag team? Because think about it. You've got Dax the Ash and Cash the Smash.
No, I
Mike will even remember that.
Demolition?
Demolition. Axe and Smash.
I'm certainly a fan of theirs, but I mean, I think they're hot, but they've significantly cooled off. Right now, the Acclaimed are still hot, like hotter than ever, with even without the titles.
Yeah, they need to take those belts off of House of Black, because then who's going to challenge them realistically? You can't do BCC at that point. Last question, last thing. Do you have the video game pre-ordered?
I don't yet. No.
I've already seen the previews of it. There was a glitch that they showed. It was Statlander against Darby Allin, and Statlander is able to skateboard on Darby's skateboard.
Really?
Yeah. So it's basically No Mercy cranked up to 12, which we all know was like the greatest wrestling game of all time. But this thing looks amazing. The pre-order bonuses are Matt Hardy and Broken Matt Hardy.
Oh, delete.
Yes. So
Sorry about that, Mike.
That's all good. I like hearing you two go.
Alex was coming on. I had to get his thoughts on All Out.
And you told me you were doing that. That's all good. Listen, normally it's me just running my mouth the entire time, no matter who's here. So it's always a nice change to not have it that way.
I don't know exactly how far in this is, but
wow.
So I think we should throw a couple at Mr. Rice here and see what he comes up with off the top of his head. This is not planned. Then again, none of this shit's planned. Oh my god. Do you love the sound effects for what the thought process?
Dial up. That was awesome. I love it. There's a little button down here that says "Need help." Yes, I do. Please.
Yeah, the problem is the kind of help we need, they can't provide.
Not a restream anyway. You can get that help online though. There.
Michael, your word, Brett Favre.
Shout out to Hazard County, Boss Hog.
I was almost thinking Cooter.
Wow.
Don't hurt Cooter or Roscoe. Hey, Alex, did you think I knew it was going to be funny before I even said anything?
No, not at all. You?
Sometimes make me good, sometimes make me shit.
So I think it's my turn to give one to James. James, your name in the Wisey Translator is Jack Eichel. Hit it.
What?
We went stone cold on it. I like it.
What?
Nice.
What?
What, do we start chanting "You suck" in the middle of a song now?
No, because then I can flip him off and give him stunners.
Oh my God. Oh, Miami's got it to 16, 92-76. It, you know which one no one's been given? Jim, I can't believe we did this. But Alex is getting a third one.
Do we get? I was going to say we get bonus coverage tonight.
Alex, you're getting a third one. Alex, your third name in the Wisey Translator is Aaron Rodgers.
Meth head?
How did he know that story?
I was waiting for him to bring out his character in Con Air. Nick Cage's character in Con Air.
Put the bunny down.
Put the bunny down.
Alex, you'll appreciate this. Unless it's AEW's the bunny, then no, I ain't putting that down.
Mm-mm.
Oh, geez, here we go.
Hey, she's hot.
I told you, I tried to get you Anna Kendrick's number for your birthday episode. I couldn't get it done.
What happened with that? Why'd that fall through?
Yeah, really.
It was either that or get stalker charges, dude. I can't be doing that.
You stalker?
No.
I don't believe that.
I barely know her.
I gotta say, even though we razzed on my dad last week for what he was planning on doing for the birthday show, did you see the hilarity that happened with that Taylor Swift concert this week? Did you see that clip floating around
No.
with the piano?
No.
She did an outdoor show and it started pouring and it shorted out part of her piano to where her piano was like playing one of the bass notes continuously and she couldn't get it to stop and she couldn't figure out what it was. It was
That's
actually
hilarious.
kind of funny.
That's hilarious. That and the thing on TikTok is now people are using that video of her yelling at the security guy. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Well, gentlemen, we are pushing 90 minutes, which is normal, which is actually a short amount of time for us when the three of us are together. Can you get that out of my face? Thank you. Sorry. Although Alex, I'll be honest with you, I thought you would say daddy when Aaron Rodgers was mentioned.
No.
Real quick, here's that Taylor Swift clip. I figure I had to pull it up real quick.
Oh, here we go.
It's actually kind of funny.
During Taylor Swift's performance, her piano got destroyed by water damage because it started raining and it started playing by itself.
I didn't play that, so that means that. Oh my. Do you hear that? Is that happening for you too? Okay, I'm just gonna do another song guitar, that's insane. So what happened is, long story short, I get to my acoustic.
During Taylor Swift's
I've never seen something malfunction like that. That's actually pretty funny.
That piano was possessed.
Yeah. For the fact that it kept hitting that. Yeah, so Alex, I don't know how much of last week you caught. My father was actually going to call in and start singing Taylor Swift songs, and I was going to block him.
I mean, just the intro, though, was fitting. I told John, by the way, John, who apparently was at the zoo all day, so he was just done. I told John, he's like, "Hey, how'd it go?" I said, "Yeah, I brought him into the Ohio State fight song." He's like, "That's classic."
You know, if you would have done that to John would have you would have had a nice little package in your mailbox. I'd have given
Probably.
him your address.
Nice, thank you.
Bobby would have enjoyed it as well. There would have been glitter everywhere, and
now on another note, you didn't actually do the glitter bomb for the kid Because I know you told Steph there was something in there for them.
No, I actually, it's on its way, but there's a little something in there for both of you.
Thank you.
Use it. There's only one, but both of you can use it.
Well, thank you. So Alex, I understand. I know you and I have both become workaholics in the recent days. How's row 7 going?
It feels like it's on a permanent hiatus right now because every time I plan, it's just like, oh, do this. Oh, do that. Oh, gotta travel here. Oh, gotta travel there. I'm racking up miles right now that I didn't want to rack up.
Oh boy, that's rough.
It's, you know what? I will say it's nice to be able to do it now because like in terms of planning between my wife and I, like I can kind of go and come, and she's kind of traveling for work as well too. So it, I'd rather get it out of the way now than down the road when things kind of get a little more complicated and so forth. So
agreed. I'm sorry, my phone hit the deck, and it's not exactly conducive for me to bend over in this chair. How's Griffey?
It's phenomenal. It's just living the good life. He's reaping all the benefits of our hard labor.
That's kind of how that works, whether it's a kid or an animal.
Right.
He lives a good life. He eats better than I do.
How'd the line go in the program? We do all the work and you get all the pub.
Bingo.
It's down to 9 with 2 minutes left.
And the Guardians blew that 1-7-6.
Oh, jeez. Jim, by the way, another stellar entry to the JC Sports Note.
Did you see the clip I sent you? And first of all, thank you. Did you see that?
Dude, that was crazy.
Alex, did you see any of the highlights from the Indy 500 on Sunday?
Bits and pieces.
Did you see where that tire flew over the stands?
I did see that.
I've been watching Indy for over 35 years. I've never seen that before. That freaked me the fuck out.
I got to be honest with you. There's only been one time when I haven't been able to finish dinner at home while watching a film. If you know me personally, you know that that's the truth. But it was the Final Destination movie where the girl got turned into a fucking hamburger by a tire that flew over top of the stands and hit her. Jim sent me that, and I went flashback.
Yeah. That's what a 60-pound tire flying at over 100 miles an hour. Probably you figure it's still spinning by the time it bounced off the track and launched. So it's got to be what, pitch logic or whatever, or like if we had MLB Statcast or something, what, exit velocity like 50 degrees or something like that. That tire had to be moving 120 miles an hour.
At the same launch angle as that non-targeting call in the Peach Bowl.
Or that moonshot that Gabriel Arias hit yesterday that I don't think's landed yet.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. So, Jim, what else coming into Sports Zone? You got a milestone number coming, don't you?
We're still a little bit away from 100 on the Sports Note. It'll probably be here maybe by the end of the summer. I think we're coming up on 225 on the Sports Note itself. It's getting there.
Nice.
But it's going to be kind of sit back. I mean, this is lull period because I don't want to I don't want to flood in with hoops because I just did a Nuggets thing, earlier this year. I did a Heat thing when they broke the free throw record back in February. So I kind of like to space that out a little. I'll probably get a little bit of baseball going. We'll actually see what else, happens. We got a couple of big UFC fights coming up before too long. I got the Detroit Grand Prix and IndyCar coming up this weekend, and I'll tell you about my little potential escapade for November here in a little bit, just after we go off the air. And but just whatever falls in my lap. I mean, there's got to be something that's going to come up.
That's very true. So, Big Rican is been on hiatus. The only thing I have time to do right now is come on with you once a week and do our shtick, as it were. So after this week, we're going to be moving to Sundays. I think we said, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I have to work late every Thursday this month. So Wise Guys moved to Sundays. But But I am going to be putting a Big Rican show together because in August it will be 5 years since I started the podcast. So we're gonna have a little bit of a Big Rican extravaganza, which you boys, I want to have you on. Try and get Willie and John, and just really just hammer home a couple of different topics. I have them in the back of my head. I'm going to keep them to myself for now, but it's going to be an all-star panel if I can get it, if I can put it together. And if I can't put it together, guess what? I'll still see you every week on here. Outside of that, Sunday night, June 11th, 9 o'clock, you will see us here. We will get into what's coming. Well, the Open's coming.
Yeah.
The Open's coming. The U.S. Open's still Father's Day weekend, right?
Mm-hmm.
We got the U.S. Open in golf. We have, we'll maybe have a finals champion by then. 104.93 with 17 seconds left. So it looks like Dallas is going to walk. Dallas. It's the second time I've done that. City with a shitty football team. Denver's going to walk away with an 11-point win at home in game one. And it is.
Yeah, but you got to figure how much it's just them coasting. We're not watching it.
No, I have the ESPN thing up here. And then we're going to be in the teeth of NFL. Training camps will be opening soon. We got college football coming up with the final year of the 4-team playoff.
And apparently, they just announced that the kickoffs are gonna open the ESPN slate this year.
I think so. I know Ohio State plays 3:30 in the afternoon on CBS. Jim, that already started. Against Indiana, they open with a conference game, and week 4 is the nighttime, the primetime game against Notre Dame from Notre Dame Stadium, which will be one of the headline games early in the season, as it was last year. So it's going to be big. It's going to be a nice summer. And of course we have the Wise Guys on location special. I've already started doing research where we got to park.
I've already started researching airfares.
We may have to figure out a hotspot of some kind.
Yeah.
We'll get into it.
I mean, but we said it a couple of weeks ago when we went to weekly, it was going to get here before we know it. We're already in June. Think about this. By the end of this month, the year's half over. We're 4 months out from that.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be crazy. Alex, that's definitely one you're going to want to watch.
You going to Ohio?
No, we're going. That's the one in Florida. We're going to the Florida-Georgia game.
We're going to the cocktail party tailgate.
Ah.
That's going to get ugly.
I mean, shit, you're already wearing the colors.
I got something else planned for that day.
I'm not going to actually say anything too far out, but I also believe I found your Christmas present.
Oh, here we go.
I think you're really going to enjoy it, and Mrs. Rican is already involved.
Wow, look at that. Look at the planning.
I hate the fact that him and my wife like to connive against me.
There will be no spit taking like the last time he was on, Michael.
Oh, my God. And, oh, by the way, I'm going to say this on the air because, quite honestly, I think it needs to be said on the air. The one you sent the other day, what a pirate says when he takes a shot to the nuts.
Me nerds!
Alex, we have dad joke memes going back and forth between him, my wife, and myself.
It's fair.
It is fair.
It's fair.
But the two responses, my wife did Zooey Deschanel from New Girl.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of that worried face. And I did, of course, the Minions laughing because Bobby quacks at the Minions like they're ducks because they're yellow.
The one your wife sent in the group chat the other day was pretty damn good.
The melancholy one?
No, the herder. You heard me.
I sent that.
Was that you?
Yes, it's a collie and a sheep sitting at a dinner table.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, "What do you mean I'm a workaholic?" You heard me.
Wordplay is wonderful.
Sometimes I roll my eyes so hard I think they're going to fall out of my head.
I can't do the Undertaker as well as I could anymore after my eyes. Now, I did that once and my eyes got stuck.
No way.
Worst pain ever. They got stuck like that for a good 30 seconds.
No.
And the last thought I want to give you, gentlemen, before you go to bed tonight, is that the savior of ESPN actually went to a giant investor thing in New York. Because did you see Disney spinning ESPN off? They're making them their own thing. They're going to be on their own for the first time since ABC bought them years ago.
Wow.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. And Pat McAfee dropped the fuck at least 4 times in his thing in front of the people from Disney. And he told Bob Iger, "I'm not changing."
Good for him.
Yes, good for him. All right. So it is time to cash this one in, gentlemen. Have a wonderful rest of your night. Everybody, thanks for watching. We will see you Sunday night, the 11th at 9 p.m. on the Wise Guys channel. Alex, as always, a wonderful time.
And
Thank you,
Michael has to go to bed early because
This guy's drunk.
Yep. Son of a bitch. The damn thing crapped out. You're lucky.
Well, Jim, there's only one way to end the night.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Night.